5 Newton meters or 8 Newton meters? Which version of the CSL DD will be better for you? Today I'm going to answer that by using the CSL DD on the most difficult situation for it, which will be drifting. Drifting is exactly the use case scenario that pushes every single wheel to its utmost limit, pushing all the potential out of the wheel. In terms of settings for 5 Newton meters, and this will be the same as for 8 Newton meters, we're using force feedback at 100%, very low dampening or natural dampening, no friction, no natural linearity, and everything else is pretty much stock. In terms of force feedback effects, this is going to be 80. That means I'm going to use these settings at 5 Newton meters at 100%, 8 Newton meters at 100%, and then drop the 8 Newton meters to 5 Newton meters so we can see the differences between both settings and between both power supply units in terms of pickup when you're using this maxed out at 5 Newton meters and the 8 Newton meter one not maxed out at about 60 or 70%. Now guys, it's not a video about drifting per se, it's a video about this wheel, how good is it for drifting or at edge case scenarios. If you don't want to follow drift guys, there's much better people like Guzius and Kebab and Citaretto and a few others as well that will eat me for breakfast. Now, as you can probably see, the wheel is responding quite well, no problem in terms of returning to center on the counter steer and changes in directions and flipping points. It's able to, you know, to do the drifting movements quite well. What I can tell you is that in terms of details, it's really not there because it kind of feels like the force feedback is being totally and completely destroyed at 100%. It doesn't have a lot of detail at this type of force in a wheel, but for drifting that's not really the most important, but it's definitely capable without, you know, you fitting too much into this to do your drifting stuff. Would I prefer something more? Yes, definitely. If you're using this outside of drifting, 5 Newton meters is kind of not the best for this wheel. It does feel that this wheel is asking for more power. It's definitely asking for more power, and it's quite difficult to gather my thoughts while drifting. So it definitely needs more power there, even though, you know, everything else that you require for drifting is absolutely there. Whoop. Ah. But this is exact, even at low force feedback, this is exactly where direct drives are basically what you need for drifting. I'm not a big proponent you need direct drives for sim racing, but for drifting I think you really need them, because the capacity of a direct drive to change direction with very little inertia from any sort of mechanical component inside like you have in some of the geared ones is immense. This is night and day between my CSL Elite and the T300 that I used. It's just far smoother. It gives you so much more confidence drifting. It's insane. But like I said, it's a little bit outside of its range of power. It really needs more juice to run this. But I'd say if you just want to buy this and a wheel, because you have to add the wheel for drifting and you were not going to use this for anything else, I think this would be like, you know, quite decent and above everything else that is on the market for this price. If you're enjoying this video, drift your cursor to the subscribe button. 8 Newton meters now. Difference is already night and day. Look at this. Yeah, definitely a much strong pickup. Faster. And even at 100%, you can feel some of the rumbling details on the track. So it's not only an amazing difference in terms of speed here. You might want to use some dampening on the wheel. But in terms of detail, even though it's still at 100%. Wow, what a difference! Yeah, you can definitely feel the vibrations now. Probably want, yeah, you want to fine-tune this. This is a bit too abrupt, but the potential is there. Definitely much more engaging. You have to fight a wheel a little bit more. And this is just 8 Newton meters, guys. It's not even like full big direct drives that, you know, have like 10, 12, 15, 20, 25 peaks, something like that. Something like a Semi-Cube or a DD1 or a DD2. An AccuForce or SW, something like that. This is like a very affordable, all things considered, wheel or wheelbase, because you still have to buy everything else on separate. And you know, for drifting, it's at 80%, 100%, 8 Newton meters. It's plenty strong enough, I think, for most people. Now let's drop this to 65. I think it's actually 63. Oop, wrong one. No, it's actually the correct one. 63, and that will give you 5 Newton meters. So, you know, 8 times 0.63 gives you around 5 Newton meters. Oh, even, wow, even here, the response is stronger. Same, you know, same force feedback strength, but response is definitely stronger. At least the initial pickup, it feels stronger. The initial jolts, in terms of speed, is pretty much the same. Feels a smoother experience, but it doesn't feel that. In terms of inputs, it's losing something there, like it was at maxed out 5 Newton meters. Whoop. That's really bad. Remember, this is not a drifting video per se. And oh, I crashed. No. It still has that. It still has the initial jolt of power that was lacking a bit from the 100% at 5. So that means every transition that you do, you'll have a little more initial force. So every time the wheel steers by itself. So it's there, yeah. This is, I think honestly, this is the best choice. It's something like using this at 8 Newton meters and then drop it to about 7, something like that. I think 5 Newton meters is still a bit too shy of what it should be. But, you know, for a budget-ish wheel, direct drive wheel, this is, I think it's an excellent wheel to drift. All things considered, it shouldn't be really surprising that I will recommend the 8 Newton meter version of the CSL DD for everyone that wants to buy this for drifting or for anything else. I think the only circumstance this wheel should be only used at 5 Newton meters is that if you're using it on a desk. Having said that, the 5 Newton meter version was plenty capable and plenty useful in drifting. It just required a little more force, and that's basically it. Maybe a little more detail as well. It just lacked that initial pickup when changing direction. It felt a little bit too soft. But compared to something that I was using before, like the CSL Elite that has 6 Newton meters, and compared to the T300 RS, this is far much better wheel to drift with. It just feels so much more engaging to drift with. It's so much more reactive and feels faster and feels more precise than anything else that I used in these general price ranges. This is more expensive than the T300. It will be more expensive than the TS, for example. But it's more or less the same price, the entry level one, as the previous CSL. You're looking to spend about, for the wheel set, not the pedals if you have pedals. If you don't have pedals, you'll have to add the pedals as well. It's about 500 euros for the wheel and the base. For a wheel of this type, it is expensive, but all things considered, it is not that expensive. So my recommendation is unlock all the potential with this wheel with the 8 Newton meters. But if you don't want to spend that much, you don't want to give the 130 to give a jump into the 8 Newton meters. And if you want to do sim racing and drifting, 5 Newton meters will be plenty enough, even though it's just a little bit disappointing in my opinion.